Hello again, and welcome to our 7th Clean Commercial Transportation Update. Sorry we're a little late today. You know, we're dealing all the time with little interesting issues in Zoom and these platforms, but we are back with you and in full control. Also, good Juneteenth to everyone. The 19th of June, it's really celebrated as Freedom Day or Emancipation Day for many Black Americans and people of color in our nation. The day the Emancipation Proclamation finally reached enslaved people in Texas 2.5 years after it was announced, a day we should all remember. I'm Bill Van Amberg, and along with Alicia Gildy, my great colleague, we are your co-hosts for this webcast today. Bonnie Trowbridge is finally back at the controls, fully got her fingers on all the buttons. Whitley Porter and Casey Okazaki are watching for questions and monitoring chat today, and we do want to be interactive with you. As usual, we try to bring you a weekly compilation of all the news, trends, and tools in clean commercial transportation, and we've really got a packed rundown for you today. Very exciting. Of course, we'll go through the latest news, including the announcement of the first zero-emission zone in the United States, which is really a big deal. We'll also have latest updates from our HVIP incentive program, and the voucher processing is very much underway. We'll also get a report from our global commercial vehicle Drive to Zero program. Really working on multiple continents right now to help drive higher government ambitions in getting to cleaner vehicles faster. We'll get you a report. And then we have an interview with the CEO of the group that actually helped to organize the Santa Monica Zero Emission Zone that we want to share with you. So a lot of great news today. And also we have an update extra session. So if you can stick around a little longer with us, we'll go through 3 national campaigns that we have launched across the country to really drive change in commercial vehicles. So stick with us if you can past the half hour. But before we dig in, wait, zero emission zones in the US, Alicia, that's a big deal.
It is, Bill, and happy Friday, everyone. Nice to see you. Yes, Bonnie, let's go ahead and pull up that first poll if we can. What we would like to know from you is what are the tools that are important to support zero emission delivery zones? The first option here, is it incentivizing off-peak deliveries? Is it green delivery loading zones? Opportunity charging for electric trucks? How about preferential parking? And then lastly, reduced tolls and fees. Let us know what you think. And yes, it might be all of the above, but one choice to select from.
As usual, it is, but I'll tell you, this has really become a major tool in Europe. We've seen so many cities starting to use this, so it's exciting to see the test case, a pilot here in the United States.
That's right, Bill. All right, Bonnie, let's see those results. Okay, it looks like opportunity charging for electric trucks comes in as the most popular option, followed by green delivery loading zones. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Bill, I'll turn it back to you for industry news.
Right, so let's launch right into this. We've got a real tight timeline today, but that first story that we just mentioned. So the city of Santa Monica has been selected to be the pilot city for the first voluntary U.S. zero-emission delivery zone. It's going to be focused in kind of the commercial section of the downtown area, but they'll be testing multiple options. The LA Cleantech Incubator was instrumental in organizing and pulling this together, and we'll hear an interview about that later in the webcast today. The other really big news this week around commercial vehicles and innovative mobility, Lyft, the ride-sharing service, has committed to going 100% electric in all the Lyft platforms by 2030. This is really a big deal. There's been a lot of questions around TNCs, or the ride-sharing companies, for possibly causing increased VMT, or vehicle miles traveled. In Lyft's case, they said we want to address it fundamentally and directly, and this is a big commitment by them. We're also seeing some really interesting changes in some innovative companies. Arrival, which is making electric delivery vehicles and starting to do work in the United States, is adding to its portfolio. So they're also adding an electric bus to its product line. It's launched in the UK, but it's going to be available elsewhere in the world. And what's interesting about this, it's not just electric drive, but it has all kinds of other innovations in it, including the potential for automation down the road. We're getting some news on one of the biggest electric vehicles in the world. Denmark has the passenger ferry Ellen. It's been in operation now for 10 months. And Ellen, on a 22-kilometer route, is actually showing some great results. It has much higher efficiency than the diesel vessel it was replacing, much lower carbon, and great passenger response. And we're seeing all kinds of vessels in Northern Europe in particular turning to electrification. We're also seeing in this country, though, that the biggest passenger ferry system in the United States, the Washington State Ferries, has actually committed to going towards electrification. Now, they'll not do battery electric only. They're actually looking at hybrid electric designs. But this is really a big deal because this is a fundamental way of getting around the Puget Sound region, around Seattle and Washington State. In our country, in our region, I should say, in California, there's a new report out, and it's around the Advanced Clean Truck Rule. The new report, which came from EDF and Energy Innovation, looks at the societal costs and benefits of this advanced rule, which would really be calling for a huge penetration rate of zero-emission vehicles, trucks in the state. And they see a much higher return on the positive side than on the cost side. A lot of those benefits are coming both on the duty cycle and the benefits of using the vehicle, but also fundamentally on the benefits of the clean air and the carbon reductions coming from them. We also, and we'll be talking more about this later in the program, with the 3 campaigns that CALSTART has launched. The latest one, the National Zero Emission Truck Coalition, officially launched this week with 30 partners or several more who look like they're going to be getting on board. Pretty much all the major truck makers in America are part of this, and really calling on Congress and the federal government to weigh in a partnership to help with purchase incentives, infrastructure, and technology improvement. Finally, just had to share this story. It's close to our hearts. This great little aircraft, the Pipistrel Velis Electro, is the first electric aircraft to receive a safety certification in the European Union to fly. Now, this is close to our hearts because Joseph Oldham, our San Joaquin Valley director, is actually managing 4 of these, and we're trying to bring this through FAA approval in the United States. So Joseph, a tip of the hat to you. This little aircraft is now certified to fly in Europe and hopefully certified in the United States as well. That's the weekly scan. Now let's dig into some details on these topics, starting, Alicia, with our HVIP program.
Yes, Bill, wonderful lineup there. Thank you so much. And I'm really pleased to introduce Tarah Campi, who is our program manager for California's flagship program for advanced medium and heavy duty vehicles, to talk about our California hybrid zero emission truck and bus voucher incentive program. We had an unprecedented year last year in terms of demand, and Tarah is here to give us an update. Tarah, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Alicia and Bill. Yeah, so HVIP's point of sale discount model is really a powerful tool for the rapid deployment of these clean technologies across the state, over 9,000 and counting. And in 2019 alone, we had over $269 million in voucher requests. That accounts for almost half of the entire the total of vouchers requested in the program's 10-year history. So for some comparison, we had 168 million in voucher requests from 2010 to 17 combined. So really, this past year shows the incredible growth in the industry and the commercialization of these new technologies that are really changing the landscape. So we can show the pie chart actually here, Bonnie. We have a graphic that shows the breakdown of the dollar value of these voucher requests in 2019 by technology type. So as you can see, the zero emission bus, I think the key is off. That largest chunk of the pie that you see there is zero emission buses. We also, I wanted to mention, we also committed over 20 million in EVSE infrastructure support for a now discontinued infrastructure incentive, but we were able to move 20 million in that support as well. And the next graphic shows the rate of voucher requests last year, and this fall was really noteworthy. We received over $80 million in voucher requests in one single month that preceded the October California Air Resources Board meeting when some policy changes were unveiled. And to that effect, the California Air Resources Board then closed the wait list on November 1st. You can see here our wait list started in July of 19 and was closed November 1st when the request had exceeded the entire fiscal year 19-20 budget. So we've remained closed ever since. However, HVIP's work definitely continues unabated behind the scenes. We paid out $15 million in April 2020 alone. So that was our largest month of voucher redemptions in HVIP's history. So it's not just the requests that have been increasing at a fast clip, but definitely redemptions as well. And just as a note, vouchers are redeemed when the vehicles are built and ready to hit the road. And I also wanted to mention that almost 60% of HVIP's vouchers have been committed in disadvantaged communities, those census designated areas that face disproportionate burden from the effects of climate change and air pollution due to geographic and socioeconomic factors.
Great, Tara, thank you so much. Great report there. And that is a significant amount of funds, and many thanks to the California Air Resources Board and the California Climate Investments. Tell us a little bit about how this happens behind the scenes. How is the team administrating all these funds? What tools are you using to make that happen?
Absolutely. We're really excited about some enhancements that are happening behind the scenes. For example, this past year, we've rebuilt our online voucher processing center, which processes all the vouchers, all 500 million in the portfolio. It's a Salesforce-enabled platform that really puts more access in the hands of our dealers for reporting, for real-time insights into the complete voucher journey. We also are excited to continue a partnership with Tetra Tech, which manages a wide portfolio of Cleantech technical assistance projects for CARB, for the New York State Truck VIP, and other programs. We also have new efforts afoot in dealer training, environmental justice community outreach, as well as hands-on infrastructure support for participants.
Tara, you guys are doing a great job. My last question to you is, all right, so funds were fully committed November 2019. When do we expect the program opening back up?
Absolutely, that's the number one question, of course. The budget does remain uncertain. However, we hope to be able to open for voucher requests again approximately the end of 2020, calendar year 2020.
Great. Tara, thank you so much for joining us today and for that great report.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alicia and Tara. And so the work of the program continues to go on. The budget issue is a serious one, and CalSTART as an organization with our industry partners certainly trying to work to make sure there is sufficient funds in that program as we head to the fall. So not just in California, there's a lot of work going on internationally. People are really looking at what they can do coming out of COVID, what they can do to deal with equity and air quality issues in their cities and regions, and address climate change at the same time. The Global Commercial Vehicle Drive to Zero program is right at the center of that. In fact, we've just recently organized very exciting meetings that the Michelin Moving On Summit invited us in for, and that is turning into some digital dialogues going forward. Cristiano Façanha is here. He is our Global Director of Drive to Zero. And Cristiano, can you kind of give us what's the current strategy and pathway around jumping out of Moving On, and maybe you can explain what we did there, and then how are we engaging on multiple continents to drive change?
Oh, absolutely, Bill. Thanks for having me here. And I think it's very important and timely to talk about how we're going to help countries commit to investments in zero-emission commercial vehicles as part of their climate commitments ahead of COP26. So a central element to our work is a global partnership that we're doing with the Transport Decarbonization Alliance, who is a coalition of countries, cities, and companies working towards net zero transfer by 2050. So we recently partnered with them, the Climate Group, and the Global Moving On Conference to organize this virtual event on how to accelerate zero-emission commercial vehicles. It was a wonderful event. It featured a really inspirational interview with the Dutch Minister of Environment, currently the chair of the Transport Decarbonization Alliance, who supported a much greater speed to bringing these vehicles to market and committing to the needed policies to make it happen. So we're talking about zero-emission areas today. So the Netherlands has committed to zero-emission zones or areas in 30 to 40 cities by 2025, which is definitely very ambitious and will certainly drive the demand for zero-emission vehicles.
It is such an example to the world there. What are we doing as we come out of that? And there was a lot of momentum and great discussions there. what are we doing with EV100, TDA, and ourselves to try and find out what we can do to build better policy tools in other regions of the world?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great global event, but it really highlighted the need to be a lot more specific in terms of the needs of different regions. So what we're doing with them, we're organizing a series of digital virtual dialogues to accelerate the market in North America, in Europe, in India. And the ultimate goal of these events is to lead to ambitious, feasible, and actionable recommendations to government ahead of COP26. And so we all know that the conference was postponed to next year, unfortunately, due to COVID. But countries are on the hook for committing to much higher levels of ambition to their climate commitments made in Paris back in 2015, which proved not to be sufficient to put us on a pathway for a 2-degree change in temperature to avoid the most catastrophic impacts from climate change. So
one of the things I wanted to ask you about that is I think you're doing some research that will be instructive on that and really trying to identify what are the vehicle volumes by type. I mean, is that going to be a key part of actually coming up with specific numbers that regions can commit to in terms of reductions?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the essential goals of Drive to Zero is to develop tangible recommendations to governments on how and how much to invest in zero-emission commercial vehicles while leveraging all the COVID-related recovery and stimulus packages. So to support these recommendations, we're evaluating aggressive sales targets for zero-emission commercial vehicles in leading regions around the world. And then with that, we'll assess the level of vehicle incentives and infrastructure investments needed to make it happen. So please stay tuned to those numbers and analysis.
So as you do these, one last quick question, and then I know we do need to move on today. How would you have people get involved with it? If they want to take part in these digital dialogues with you, no matter where they are in the world, how should they engage?
Yeah, definitely. We very soon we're going to be, sending the invitations, to these different dialogues as they get scheduled. So they're going to be scheduled over the summer, leading to Climate Week in New York City, which will also be a digital event. So the best way is to definitely email me directly. If you want to have a more active role on some of these events, we're happy to get your help as well.
Great. So we'll put Cristiano's contact information in the chat box. We'd love to have you connect, and this will be really exciting because I think people are ready to move, but we're trying to give some guidance on that level of ambition and how to get there. Thank you for joining us, Cristiano.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here, Bill.
Well, one of the tools that we've just talked about in the Netherlands and elsewhere in Europe is this zero emission zone. And we've had challenges in the United States to set up a framework for doing it. There's been worry, do we have the legal authority? What's the right structure? Santa Monica has announced that they're going to be doing one, and the organizer of that is the LA Cleantech Incubator. The CEO of the LA Cleantech Incubator, also known as LACI, joined us, Matt Petersen, and kind of started to give us a sense of, when Alicia and I talked to him, what's it going to take, what's the framework, and what are they going to really be testing. So let's listen to some of that interview. Can we start with the basics, Matt, from your perspective? Why is a zero emission zone important? What's the power of that tool?
Well, Bill, thanks for having me. Alicia, great to see you both. And for your great work as well in advancing transportation electrification. For us, as we went through the work and through our Zero Emissions 2028 roadmap that the partnership established in terms of initial greenhouse gas and air pollution reduction goal and setting individual targets, we started to do the more granular work of how are we going to get to 60% of the medium duty delivery trucks on the road to be electric? How are we going to reduce, increase mode shift? How are we going to, of course, hit those emissions targets? And one of the ideas that came out of our goods movement working group was, well, what if we did a zone? That's the pieces of it, if not the entire concept have been tried in Europe, as we talked about in our pre-interview. And it really came together where we decided to do a feasibility study with the LA Convention Center and some of the key partners and players in the space. And, you know, in the end, Convention Center at the time wasn't the right fit just because of the LA Auto Show would be really disruptive to try to create a one-year pilot for staging. And, you know, but we learned a lot. The Convention Center learned a lot. We're really grateful for their willingness to be in that feasibility process with us. And we decided to do an RFI countywide, and with some funding we had secured to the state legislature and their support, we were able to put $300,000 towards the pilot to get it started. And we had several communities apply to be the host of the pilot. And in the end, the committee selected Santa Monica, and really there's a lot of reasons why. Of course, Santa Monica's got a lot of concentration, different types of use types, commercial, retail, office, residential, that we think lend themselves to this pilot. And so that's the background. And now we're just putting out the call for technologies, and whether it's a startup or an established corporate player, a legacy player, a nonprofit, you know, whomever has a solution, we're interested to see how it might help those goals of establishing the zero emission zone in downtown Santa Monica.
That's great, Matt. That's a really exciting project, and really, really happy to hear about it. Wanted to understand a little bit more about what you're trying to test with this pilot. What are the key components of this pilot?
Yeah, it's obviously we're coming in with some preconceived notions of what we want to test. I mean, the larger takeaway we hope is how can this become a model for regions, you know, neighborhoods, whether it's downtown LA, Century City, you know, where you have a high concentration of last mile goods movement, goods delivery. And also for the mayor of LA, as he thinks about the zero emissions zone for somewhere in the city, this can hopefully be informing that and have some sort of version of it, a piece of that zone. So we're hoping to see, you know, what form factor, what modality will be most feasible. Is it e-cargo bikes? Is it you know, of course, other forms? Is it three-wheel vehicles? Some might be proposing drones. We're not focused so much on aerial, but that might come to the fore. You know, how do we learn how to manage the curb? How do we prioritize the curb, access to the curb, price the curb? That's something a lot of people have been thinking about, and some people have been working on, and that's going to be, I think, a critical policy learning as well as a business model learning. And then how do we create staging areas? How do we, you know, there's not a lot of available space for opportunity charging in downtown Santa Monica or around the promenade. So how do we find a shared third-party space that, you know, the FedExes and UPSs and the Amazons of the world can access when they need to, or smaller, could be an operating center for smaller operators to be able to do EV van share. So how can they access, you know, a small and pop shop who has delivery needs can access a last mile, you know, a zero emission solution too.
Well, Bill, that was such a great opportunity to meet with Matt and to hear about this exciting project, and certainly we'll be following their progress. And, you know, I also really appreciated the point that he made that a pilot's all about learning. Sometimes things don't always go as planned, but that's important because we learn from that. So really appreciate the opportunity to learn from him what their goals are and how partners can support this very important project, and hopefully we can replicate the success of this pilot in other cities. We will be making the full interview available online, everyone. So if you want to hear more, please check out our website later. But to quickly get a pulse of where you think the next zero emission delivery zone project should occur, Bonnie, if you can bring up our last poll for today. I believe we have 11 cities for you to choose from.
No write-in candidates, unfortunately. We don't quite have that technology.
All right, so we have 10. Okay, good deal. So Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, New York City, San Francisco, Seattle. Where do you think the next program should be initiated?
And I think as people are voting, if you have other ideas, I see people also writing it in. Let us know what cities you might suggest in the chat box if we didn't quite hit it with this one.
I see someone mention Memphis and Austin.
And, yeah, thank you,
All right.
Kevin.
All right, let's see those results, Bonnie. Okay, it looks like a good percentage, 36% with Los Angeles, followed by New York City, San Francisco, and Chicago. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you participating in this poll.
And you know, it's what's fun because we all have opinions and good opinions. I see Sacramento and Dallas, and I think we actually have discussed Sacramento with some of our partners because there's a real commitment to zero emissions in that region. All right, well, look, we've done it again, haven't we? We've used up our half hour. Time flies, a lot of content, but that's this week's update. We'll post the full recording of this onto our website for Monday if you want to review it and look at some of the details. Next week in our clean update, we're going to have a new study, the West Coast Zero Emission Corridor study that has just been released. Alicia and team have been involved in that. It has recommendations on how to build out a 3-state connected route, including for medium and heavy duty vehicles. We'll also have that in the latest news and trends. Now, if you can spend the extra time with us today, we would love for you to stay. After a short pause, we'll be moving into our update extra session, where we'll be looking at 3 national campaigns that CalSTART has launched with our industry partners to really raise the issue with Congress of key funding that's needed to move this industry segment forward. But if you can't join us otherwise, thanks again for joining for this part of the webcast. For Alicia Gilday and our team, I'm Bill Van Amberg. Be safe, stay healthy, and in all ways that we can, let's really stay more connected than ever. And happy Father's Day this weekend. For those who can stay, see you in a minute. For everyone else, see you next week.